Hi guys, GeekTrue64 here. Today I wanted to talk about the Dark Phoenix trailer. Alright, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to have the video play and we'll just examine it. We'll take a look at it. I'll let you know some things I'm thinking about it as we're playing along. So we got it opening up and we got that awesome expansion that's synonymous with the X-Men movies. I love this. Every time I see this mansion, it just reminds me of X2, which to me is the best X-Men movie. So you got, Xavier telling Jean you're not broken. She looks like a really sad kid. So the scene right here with a Beast and Jean Grey is very reminiscent of how Jean kind of was caught up in X3. Mostly this trailer, which I did already watch, obviously. It reminds me a lot of X3. X-Men The Last Stand is one of the worst X-Men movies. It's not the worst. That definitely belongs to X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is by far the worst. But yeah, this is the first thing I saw that I was like, oh, I see. They're going with kind of just redoing the X3. Okay, let's continue on. So they kind of allude to the fact at this point in the trailer that Professor X did some mental blocks, which is basically what he did in X3 to suppress Jean's powers. If this is like a dark persona like X3, I never like that. I'm a big fan of the X-Men Phoenix comics. And I actually have the almost the entire run of the original Phoenix, including the first appearance of Phoenix comic book, because I just love X-Men that much. I love the Phoenix story that much, and I was hoping, based on the initial pictures. So let me throw up some initial pictures right here. So this is what was released from Entertainment Weekly. Man, a long time ago now, over a year ago, because I actually had X-Men Dark Phoenix as one of my most anticipated movies of this year. And I did that list at the beginning of the year. So, those initial images have been 10 months ago, 11 months ago, almost a year ago. And this is the first time we're seeing a trailer. A lot of that has to do with the Disney merger because Disney's bought Fox. And that's a whole nother can of worms I'll have to talk about in a different video. So based on this image Entertainment Weekly released, I really, really like this. So Sophie Turner, some people had some issues with her in Apocalypse. X-Men Apocalypse was not the greatest X-Men movie, nor was it the worst. It was kind of in between. It was just kind of serviceable. It wasn't as good as I had hoped it to be. And a lot of people, they didn't like her portrayal of Jean Grey. I thought it was fine. It was perfectly serviceable. And I did want to see where she would take the character in the sequel with the Phoenix. And these initial images were just amazing. I really liked the look of this stuff. This looked really cool with like the cracks and the fire. It's nice looking. I will say that Sophie Turner's American accent is kind of just weird. It may just be because I'm such a huge Game of Thrones fan, and it's just weird hearing her with having an American accent. A lot of people are giving Professor X a lot of crap during this trailer for doing this whole mental block thing that he had to do to Jean, and you know what? Sometimes you got to make the hard calls. I think he's getting a lot of hate for no reason. So at this point in the trailer, there's just a lot of her trying to figure out, her powers, where she fits in, all this kind of stuff. She goes to a church or some type, and Jessica Chastain shows up. There was a lot of debate on whether maybe she was playing like an older version of Jean Grey, maybe like a time-displaced version or something like that. I mean, she could play an older Jean Grey. I mean, she does have gray hair. They clearly dyed it blonde specifically for this movie. So we do see Cyclops, and then we see Quicksilver, and we see Storm. Again, the actors and actresses that got to play the younger X-Men, I don't mind them. I think all of them are pretty well cast. I obviously really like Quicksilver, but I also like Ty Sheridan as Cyclops. I think that's a pretty good cast. I think he brings a little bit more charisma than James Marsden in the original X-Men movies. Was not given a whole lot to do. I was actually really pissed because Cyclops was one of my favorite characters in the X-Men. And, people just have a real hard time writing Cyclops. Now, Joss Whedon's run on Astonishing X-Men, he knew how to write Cyclops. I wish that was the Cyclops we got in the movies. We haven't really gotten that, but Ty Sheridan, I'm interested to see what he's going to do in this new one. I think he's going to play a little bit more mature Cyclops than the Cyclops that we saw in X-Men Apocalypse. So I'm interested to see where they take that, and I'm interested to see the younger Storm as well, because she didn't feel like Storm in X-Men Apocalypse. So, and seeing Quicksilver actually on the X-Men team and not just, randomly showing up for a cool action sequence with some awesome music, that'll be cool to see. So Jean goes to Magneto, and Magneto's response is typical Michael Fassbender Magneto, which is, you didn't come here looking for answers, you came here looking for permission, which is a great line. That's Michael Fassbender as Magneto. It's definitely a lot different than Ian McKellen's take on Magneto. I think both of them are really good takes on the character. I don't necessarily think that Michael Fassbender's Magneto really fits in as a younger Ian McKellen Magneto, but regardless, I think that each individual actor's takes on the character made it their own. And so this is kind of the first chance, I guess, you get to see these new X-Men costumes. They definitely remind me of the Grant Morrison X-Men costumes. Let me go ahead and throw up the cover to the Grant Morrison X-Men costumes just so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So there was some really cool costumes I remember at the end of Apocalypse, and I actually did like those a lot. They were very individualistic, kind of like how the 90s X-Men were, where they were all part of a team, but they all had like distinctly different costumes. They all didn't have the same costumes. So I guess it's just a matter of preference, and you let me know what in the comments below which one you think is better. Most of this trailer just reminds me of X3. It just looks like a different version of X3, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but let's go ahead and press on. So it's just really cool, like, just look at her face. So she's messing with that helicopter. That's just, I like Sophie Turner as a young Jean Grey. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but it's just my preference. I really do like her. Obviously she's having some mental breakdown in this scene, and then this is the scene that I'm curious about. So they're in a jet or a shuttle or something like that, and they're definitely going into space. There's a scene where this house explodes. It seems very similar, reminiscent of X3 again. So this is a really cool scene. I love how he's in Cerebro and the fire extends out. So breaking news, I'm just tacking this onto my trailer breakdown. They just released a date change. So this trailer has been out less than 48 hours, and as I'm editing it, my trailer reaction, I see that the release date has changed from when they put out the trailer. So in the trailer, and I'll show you real quick, see right here, it says February 14th, which is actually a really good date, I think. There's not much stuff that comes out in January, February. I think that's a very good date for it to be released. And then, upon the trailer release, they decided, within 48 hours, mind you, of this trailer dropping, they changed the release date to June 7th. They pushed it back even further. Keep in mind, this movie was supposed to come out in 2018. The promotional images were released a year ago. I don't know what's going on. There's definitely a lot of issues as this Disney Fox merger pushes forward, and I'm really hoping that this cinematic version of the X-Men that spanned 10 plus films gets the correct send-off. That's not to mention New Mutants, which I don't even know when the release date for that is even set. I think it's the end of 2019, and that trailer dropped almost a year ago. That's just crazy to think about. So there's definitely a lot of issues with this Disney-Fox merger and existing films getting pushed out. I don't know who's coming up with this, but if I get some more news, I might just make a video on it. It's really interesting. But we'll go ahead and get back to the trailer breakdown. Sorry to interrupt. Magneto has the best lines in this trailer. He's like, "You're always sorry, Charles. There's always a speech, and no one cares." Savage. Let's go and put some thug life on Magneto. I'm glad that Cyclops and Jean were going to expand on their relationship a little bit more. It definitely felt real surface level, and they focused too much on Wolverine in the original X-Men trilogies. So And he just totally got the shaft in X3. I'm still pissed about that. He just died immediately in X3 and never got a chance to do anything. And they just put Wolverine as a stand-in for Cyclops in that story. So maybe this, like I said, maybe this is some redemption for Cyclops. So that scene right there, that scene, I'm going to rock this back and forth because this needs to be rocked back and forth. This Phoenix scene where I don't know if she's in space. I hope she's in space. The original Phoenix story, Phoenix is a cosmic being that inhabits Jean. So the thing, I really wish that it would take some more stuff from the comics, because seriously, the Phoenix is just an awesome story. Phoenix is a cosmic being, and I wish that was the direction that they went with in this. I actually had hoped, especially based on those initial images that were put out there, that it would take place more in space with the Shi'ar Empire, because Shi'ar Empire is really cool. A lot of the Galactic X-Men stuff is really cool and underrated, and we haven't seen it yet, and I was hoping that was the direction that they were going to go. This trailer is not bad. It's just not really what I wanted to see. And after a year since, the initial images come out, a lot of people, it's not a disappointing trailer. It's not one that gets me very hyped either. There are a couple cool things in it. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below about this thing. I do like the poster. I think that the promotional images, like the poster and then the initial promotional images that were released, look better than what the trailer does. The trailer is just, I don't know, there's something about it that doesn't necessarily feel like an X-Men movie. It feels very low budget, I guess, is kind of how I feel about the trailer. Yeah, just, I don't know, something just seems off about it. So for those who don't know, this is not directed by any of the previous X-Men directors. Obviously, Bryan Singer is not involved in this one. If you want to know why, feel free to look that up yourself. But the director on this is Simon Kinberg, and Simon Kinberg is actually, he was involved in the X-Men movies, just not as a director. Specifically, he was the writer on X-Men The Last Stand, which is probably why there's so much of X-Men The Last Stand in here. I don't know why you just want to remake a X-Men movie that a lot of people really didn't like. You should definitely take it in a new direction. This is like a do-over for this guy, and just based on the trailer, it seems like he's just doing the same thing in a different kind of way. I'm not a big fan of the way it's shot either. It's hard to tell from a trailer, but I don't know. It's just, it doesn't look like an X-Men movie. Whether that's good or bad, I guess, is open to interpretation. But for me, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, those last two end scenes are really great. I love the Phoenix, and then you get the the dark eyes and the shadow on the side of her face, and the fire underneath her skin. You can tell that's a really cool visual as well. So I mean, maybe this director he's got some really cool shots. It's just that they don't necessarily come across in a lot of the scenes within the trailer. It is really hard to tell from a trailer what kind of directing style you're going to get out of this movie. So those are my thoughts on the Dark Phoenix trailer. I would like to hear some other people's opinions on this, see what you guys think about it. But yeah, if you like this video and want to see more, please like and subscribe, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm Geek264, and I'll always tell you the truth.